This is going to be probably the deepest live that I have ever done. Alexa, shuffle music by Alexi Murdoch, Spotify.
Shuffling This is Alexi Murdoch from Spotify.
I'm just going to talk into the camera until I don't feel like talking anymore, guys. And I don't care how many people watch this because it has to be said for posterity. I watched a great man on TV as I tried to relax this evening after one of the greatest days of my life. His name was Mathew Walsh. And I thought about Mathew Walsh and my relationship with this man that doesn't know my name that I reached out to so many times. I thought, if he only knew me. So maybe one day he'll see this, or maybe someone in his staff. But I'm not going to talk about what I tried to talk to Mathew Walsh about right now, but I'm going to tell you Mathew Walsh taught me something about prayer. Alexa, Volume 2. He taught me something about prayer, Mathew Walsh. He made me understand God as a father a little bit better, Mathew Walsh. He explained to me that when we pray and we ask for shit, we're like, God, give me a new car. God, get me out of this problem with my wife. God, make me more money. God, even just God, give me direction alone. These are petitions to God. These are prayers of petition in which we are asking for shit. And he said very clearly, as only a man with a genuine relationship with God could say, Mathew Walsh. He said, if all of your prayers are prayers of petition, where you're asking for things, and your prayers are not sometimes solely of praise for God Himself, Mathew Walsh said. Well, what do you expect from your dad? Really? I know if the only time my daughter ever talked to me was when she wanted something, right? I'd be less inclined to give her things when she would eventually talk to me. Because all of her actions towards me are those of petition, right? But when you have a daughter like I have, my beautiful daughter, when you have a daughter like that, and she'll just say, I love you, Dad, or she'll just give you a hug in the morning, first thing. Well, first of all, you're lucky. And second of all, you did a good job. And then third of all, that's something that you thank God for. Without asking Him for shit. You don't say, hey, thank you so much for my daughter that gives me a hug in the morning every morning. Can I have a Lamborghini? And Mathew Walsh taught me that. What do you say to a man that teaches you something like that casually? What could you say about a man like that? I mean, the things that Mathew Walsh just inherently understands on a spiritual level, on a philosophical level, on a political level. Hello from South America. I am actually in the country of Paraguay. I have a Paraguayan wife that was a gift to me from God Himself, and a Paraguayan daughter who was also a gift to me from God Himself. So, where was I? Praising Mathew Walsh. In what part of Paraguay are you? I am in Ascension, in Luque. Uh, Today I was in Arigua, and I was in Villa Mora, and I am now in Luque. In my home. I love Luque. I bought I bought half a block in a small countryside town outside of Capietta that we're gonna make a country house. But I forget the name. I live in Lucan. Oh, nice. I live in Central. Well, you should stop by for coffee sometime, bro. Look for my Telegram and send me a message. We'll have coffee. I don't mind. Dude, you know, the thing about my life is, bro, I don't have anything to do. Really. I live a life of zero responsibility. Really, at the end of the day. My whole entire existence is that of growth at this point. Like, victory is kind of assured, and I can just kind of lay back. I smoke Kentucky because I'm ghetto as fuck, bro. Like, you can smoke Marlboro for $1.25 a pack, or you can go to Box and get Kentucky for 40,000 a carton, bro. 40,000 a carton, by the way, for you non-Paraguayans, is approximately what, $4, bro? Yeah. Kentucky are cheaper than Marlboro. Fuck yeah, Kentucky are cheaper than Marlboro. I smoke Kentucky, bro, because I'm a good consumer. I'm a good consumer. So you're my boy. You live here in Luque. You speak English. Ja, ja, ja. What's your name, bro? Mateus. Well, Mateus, hit me up on Telegram. We'll chat. I'll give you my WhatsApp or something. You seem like a chill guy. Shaun, bro. Shaun. I'm from Brooklyn, bro. I'm from Brooklyn originally. Make sure to like and subscribe. Huh? You want to hear about my day, bro? It's been a crazy day. It's been a crazy, crazy, crazy day. Thank you, bro. Let me tell you about my crazy day. And let me tell you about my crazy day tomorrow. You want to hear about my crazy day today and my crazy day tomorrow? So, my crazy day today was that I woke up in the morning and people were sending me money. And that's great. I like it when people send me money, right? So, that was good. And then I made a contract for credit card processing with not one, not two, not three, but four different parties. So that way, when I present it to the client on Monday, he'll have four options to choose from, all of which I get paid a considerable amount of money. Yeah. And then, in a stroke of genius, I said, wait a second. This one guy has been looking for processing for a while. And then this other guy has an account. Why not just put them together and make a little something something? And I did it. And then it gets better. Then I visited an old soldier. I visited an old soldier today. Man that served in Vietnam. And I'm not going to talk about what me and the soldier talked about. But we swapped war stories. We swapped war stories for 6 hours. 6 hours. He told stories of himself as a soldier on the front lines in Nam. And I would tell him stories of my command. And me and this soldier had the best stories today. And I walked around his property. And I said the same thing to myself. That an old U.S. Marshal said to me one time. It wasn't what the U.S. Marshal said to me. It was what the U.S. Marshal was to me. First of all, he was my boss, right? But secondarily, he was a man that I respected, you know? I respected him not just as a boss, but I accepted him as like a commanding officer. I respected him as a leader. I respected him spiritually, you know. He taught me shit from a young age. I mean, he taught me things like a lesson I'll teach you right now. This U.S. Marshal, he taught me a first strike rarely has the intended consequences. And so every time I think of making any type of move that I would consider a first strike, I always think of Dennis's words. Respect, Dennis. You know, you made an impression upon me. But the thing I would look at when I would look at Dennis is I would say, this is a man akin to myself. This is where I would have, and I will, or I would end up if I took the pertinent, penitent path. The true servitude. If I took that path, that's probably what my reward would have been. It would have been a security agency like Dennis, or a beautiful farm like this old soldier that I visited today, because he was akin to the man that Dennis is. He was akin to the man. I have known 4 men in my life that I would respect as spiritual authorities. 4. 4. 5, really, because you got to count God himself. So I look first to God as a spiritual authority. But then after God, I look to 4 men. All of them living. I look to my adoptive father, Nico. Now, my adoptive Nico father, he is a harsh man. Harsh man. He'll tell you straight. Man of God through and through. After living the worst life you ever could live. Worse than myself. You do things in life you're not proud of. And then you try to be better. And it's a process, kids. It's a process. And it's a process that few master. The process of being a little bit better every single day, and seeing the compounding results of that. I just got another payment. Your part, the person said. What do you call that? I don't know. So anyway, what is this? I didn't read it. Point is, the wheels turn. The wheels always turn. But you have to turn with the wheel. Huh? And you have to improve. And if you are the same person today as you are 10 years from now, then you fucking failed. You fucking failed. Yeah? Because you shouldn't be. You should have evolved. You should have gotten a little bit better every day. And that's what it's all about. Being a little better every day. Just a little. You don't have to make leaps and strides. But you put your foot, look, it goes back to like the Fibonacci sequence. It goes back to incredible mystical things that govern the universe. It goes back to statistics. It goes back to numerology. Get a little bit better every day. And eventually you will find what is referred to, my children, as the golden mean. in the Fibonacci sequence. The golden mean. We're talking about Nico. But Nico got a little bit better every day. And I can see that. And he is. Man, I saw your videos. Your wife is nice. Bro, what's up, bro? You haven't talked in a while. I guess you were checking other shit out. I'm gonna be sitting here chatting for hours because I got a lot of shit on my mind and I want the shit fucking recorded, bro. Hmm? You know? So, anyway, Nico. I respect Nico. I love Nico. I look at him as a father figure. And he is a great man. Because I judge men great or not great, and he is a great man. So I look to he for guidance. Secondarily, Dennis, former U.S. Marshal, high-level priest within the Mormon Church, my boss. Now, what you got to understand about the Marshal Service is that in the Marshal Service, these guys do crazy shit. They're not like cops, right? What their job is to go and get like the real bad guys, like out in the boondocks and shit. So like a lot of times these guys are like dangerous and crazy, and they gotta like do like whatever the fuck they gotta do to bring this guy in, like dead or alive sometimes, you know. Like if you're like a fugitive from the law, it's the Marshal Service that goes looking for you, you know. So anyway, Dennis was that guy, and I worked for him in a security agency. Your wife is nice. My friend, you are a teacher? No, I am not a teacher. Teachers don't make any money, bro. Don't be a teacher. In fact, in Paraguay, don't be an attorney or a doctor. They don't make any money either. Like, I make, without working, 3 times a doctor's salary out here without even working. Yeah. And so I live a very nice life without working. And that's nice for me and my wife and my daughter. And don't be a doctor or an attorney in Paraguay. Don't be a doctor because you get paid about $1,000 a month and you're required to work 2 days a week in the public hospital for free. Yeah, which is not a good deal. And then you're also not going to get a lot for your labor because the market is so competitive and everybody has undercut everybody into poverty level wages. So don't be a doctor in Paraguay. Secondarily, do not be an attorney in Paraguay because there are gajillions and gajillions of attorneys to where it turns into this like old Roman type system where they all just like hang out at the courthouse and wait for work, like old Greek barristers. Kind of crazy. Maybe they did that back in Europe, back in the Middle Ages too, but I mean, most commonly, when I used to recall that being done in history, it was certainly the excessive amount of attorneys within the Greek and Roman Empire. Hmm. So anyway, where were we? Dennis. Dennis, I looked at Dennis's life and I said, this is where I would have ended up if I would have been a completely straight-laced guy. Like, I didn't do anything bad. I didn't do anything wrong. I was a complete, perfect, good soldier. Dennis's life. That's probably what I would have had. You know? Make sure to like and subscribe, whoever's in here randomly. Take a beer. I don't drink, bro. But I drink Diet Coke. Cheers. So, Dennis was a very wise man. Wisdom and intelligence are two very different things. You know? There's different ways of explaining it, but intelligence comes from the mind. Wisdom comes from the heart. You know? Some people are blessed to have intelligence. Some people are blessed to have wisdom. Few were blessed enough to have two. Then there's the third component, the component of spirit. And when you take all three and you combine them together, you turn into some kind of like demigod, kind of. And I've known several of these throughout my life, you know. I would like to count myself as one of them. I don't know. I ask myself that question sometimes. What the fuck are you? You know? Eventually, you've done too much crazy shit, and you say, you know what? It's kind of crazy. I don't believe this is real. And then you're like, you did it, so you know it's real. And you're like, okay, this is kind of crazy. At that point, you start to look for otherworldly reasons. There's no other explanation, really. But that's a story for myself and myself personally. Anyway, the thing about me, I'm always my own best audience. So I don't give a shit if not a person watches this. Dennis. Yes, Dennis. Dennis, I look to him and his teachings for wisdom. Last in person is the soldier I spoke with for 6 hours today. A true man of God, a true soldier, a soldier of command, you know? And I respect him a lot. His name is Joe. Served in Vietnam, lost people under his command. What's up, girl lately? Crazy girl lately? There's a lot of crazies. A lot of crazy girls in the world. Are you a crazy girl? And then lastly, but not least importantly, is the man of the hour. The man that you came here to even hear about. The last man that I respect out of the four in the world, well, besides President Trump, everyone respects Trump, is Mathew Walsh. Mathew Walsh. Let me tell you, Mathew Walsh is a man wise beyond his years. Wise Mathew Walsh beyond his years. He carries a hardness that you can only receive through disappointment within your fellow man. As you watch your fellow man fall, not as a singularity, but as a collective. You see, Mathew Walsh has seen this. I know he has, because I watch him talk about it. He, like me, I imagine, watched this whole thing go down, you know, with clarity though. Like we knew what was happening to you, and we watched you allow it to happen while we begged you not to allow it to happen to you. He on a broader scale, me on a more micro scale. But the message is the same. Really, at the end of the day, the message is the same. Is that people are broken beyond repair. If people just watch this video, the things that they would learn. Yet how many people are going to watch this video? Maybe 100, maybe. And most of them will click away after 15 seconds. You see, but that's not my job. My job is not to make 1 million people watch this video. My job is really just to document what happened to you guys. Because I know what happened to me. But you don't know what happened to you. And Mathew Walsh, on a broader scale, with a greater reach, is doing God's work, explaining to you what happened to you. So yes, finally, after 32 minutes, this is going to become really Mathew Walsh centric. You know, I mean, he talks about just the sheer lunacy of the Democratic Party, of anyone that would call themselves liberal, of anyone that could stand behind transgender ideology. He taught me that abortion was wrong, Mathew Walsh. Me, a man that has been pro-choice his entire life, Mathew Walsh taught me. How did he teach me? By giving me real information. You know? I mean, we all hear things like the most dangerous place for a black baby is within the womb. And we, think about it for a second and we move on. But then when you really get some numbers and you say, well, okay, the most dangerous place for a black baby is within the womb. And then you say, well, that's 60 million babies we've killed. And then you go and you say, well, wait a second. There's only like 360 million Americans. So you're like, wait a second. That's like 15% of the population we just never allowed to exist. That's kind of fucked up. And I don't want to get behind that. anymore. I don't. So now I'm pro-life. And people think I've been propagandized because I've become pro-life. But Mathew Walsh taught me to be pro-life. There's a testimonial. Because he told me the truth about abortion. Not in the sense that, anything spiritually, not in the sense of anything medically, not in anything like that. Just basically expressing why. One of the reasons because I tell you, I've studied Mathew Walsh. I've really studied, and during one of his lectures, Mathew Walsh at a university, he pretty much made the most compelling argument that I've ever heard, and this is what changed me to be pro-life, was that what almost changed me was when he told me that 60 million babies had been aborted. I said, you know what, that's a little ridiculous. But then when he gave this conference, and he was talking about how basically, I'm trying to recall, it's late, but the point is, if you say that we have a right to kill babies, right? Then what you're basically saying is, this thing is not a baby. It's a clump of cells or whatever. And then you say, well, then, okay, it's okay to kill it. But then you have to go and you have to say, okay, are you talking alone, my bro? I don't care, really, if I'm talking alone. I'm getting some things off my chest. It's late. I don't feel like just sitting here. So I'll sit here and preach for a little while. And then maybe a couple of wayward souls will watch it. Huh? Eventually, one day. Maybe descendants of my descendants will watch this. And they will understand their great-great-grandpa. See, that's why I make ProfessorShaun.com. It's not even for the subscribers. It's not for the likes. It's not for the maybe 2 or 3 grand I'll get a month one day. It's not for any of that, guys. It's for posterity. It's because the things that I have to say really should be heard. And so they can be. Because of Professor Shaun. To be honest. So anyway, if you take this clump of cells and you say that we can kill it, yes? What you're ending up doing is saying we have the right to kill something just because we will to kill it. And I don't think as human beings we have the right to take a life just for the sake of will or want. But let's say that we did. Right? You have to say that this is not just a clump of cells, but eventually it would turn into a human being, which has to make it, at the very least, a more important thing to kill than, say, like, you know, a squirrel. But would you kill a squirrel just because you want to kill a squirrel? You know? I wouldn't, personally. You know? I don't think I'd ever want to kill a squirrel. But even if I did just walk upon a trail and see a squirrel, and then like some psychotic part of me said, kill the squirrel, kill the squirrel. I I would still say no, you can't kill a squirrel for no reason. That's ridiculous. There's like a personal thing inside of me that checks myself. If you have a lot of money, you probably don't smoke Kentucky. Nah, bro. The thing is, I'm really, really frugal, bro. I'm really, really frugal. I'm really, really frugal. That's the God's honest truth, Mr. King. It says, King number one, Mateus. Are you like a super friend of mine? Are you a super friend of the Professor Shaun family? But anyone, if you've listened this long and you don't know who Mathew Walsh is, you should definitely check him out. You should definitely check him out. He is a very wise man. He can teach you to be a better man. He taught me to be a better man, you know? And I appreciate these things. En un scala de 10, mi español es más o menos 7. Pero mi español es basura real. How's that for Spanish? Very, very bad Spanish. I've been here for 5 years, but at this point in time in my life, most of the people in my life speak English, including my wife now, thankfully. So, and by the way, I do smoke Kentucky. There's Kentucky. In fact, Mateus, you know where I'm headed to tomorrow? I'm headed to Vox here in Luque. And I'm going to buy myself 10 cartons of Kentucky. And it's going to cost me approximately $400,000, which is approximately $42.50 for 10 cartons of cigarettes. And that's a fucking good deal. Now, if I got the same amount of Marlboros, right? It would be, instead of $42.50, it would be approximately $150. You see? So, as much as I smoke, I like to smoke cheap. Does that make sense, Matteo? Why waste money? Really, the Kentuckys taste the same to me. In fact, sometimes I smoke some of the better cigarettes. Like I got these, what were they? These cigarettes. They were Kent's or something. You are alone at home? No, I'm not alone at home. My wife is sleeping in her bed, and my daughter is sleeping in her bed, and I'm sitting here on the couch, chilling, talking with you and one other person, maybe. I don't know. And I bought a pizza. But I don't feel like eating. I haven't eaten all day. I'm just not fucking hungry. I'm never fucking hungry. I'm never fucking hungry. It's concerning. I'm just never hungry. I used to put it down to me hating the Paraguayan food, but then I just started getting whatever I wanted whenever I was hungry and eating that, or commanding my wife to make me the correct food. And I still don't feel the inclination to eat. Now, if you tell me, Shaun, are you inclined to drink coffee and smoke cigarettes and maybe something other thing? Well, yes, thank you, please. You know? But putting the pizza, the bacon pizza, the delicious bacon pizza that I bought, going over to that table over there and putting it in my mouth does not seem appealing. However, talking to you, going over to the kitchen here in a minute, and getting a cup of coffee does sound appealing. And so that's what I'm doing. Because at the end of the day, I gotta do what I want to do. So right now, I just want to talk with you guys. People come in the room, they listen to my nonsense, and then they leave. Maybe someone picks up in here for a minute. Welcome. So anyway, without all the useless dribble, yeah, I'm taking a piss. I don't care. We're all live here. There's no production value on Professor Shaun. We're raw and unfiltered at Professor Shaun. We're raw and unfiltered. Because really, this is just a hangout session where I'm talking about Mathew Walsh. And if this motherfucker ever sees this video that's basically dedicated to him, well, he'll know how I feel about the motherfucker. And that was my mission. As well as enough actual Professor Shaun garbage for him to understand that I'm not just some common schmuck, and that maybe he should contact me on Telegram. Or maybe one of his assistants. Hey, Shaun. Oh, what's up, Drina? Drina, I missed you. I missed you, Drina. I missed you, Drina. We've just been chilling out, talking about Mathew Walsh, talking about some of the people I respected throughout my life. I'm making some coffee. I think I've pretty much given up on building up an appetite to eat anything today. Sorry, I was dealing with some... Nah, bro, I haven't even done a live in like 2 days, really. Because I've been so busy working. I've been negotiating some things. You should watch this live that I just did here. You should watch that from the beginning. That said some pretty important shit in it. You know, this has been a little bit different than the normal play sessions that I do, where I just kind of bullshit around and listen to rap music and order my wife around, you know? This has been more of a real Professor Shaun. This is more of like a real fitting man-to-man conversation. Well, I'm glad you're checking in on me, bro. You know, I love you, Drina. Drina, you're good people, you know? And good people deserve good things. And Drina, you know a lot more about my life than I know about your life, Drina. But I'll tell you, you know a lot more about my life than I know about your life. But I'll tell you one thing about yourself, Drina, is that good guys don't always finish last. And you know, I know it's hard to stay in good spirits in the world today, but that's what you've done. And I'm going to tell you something about yourself. Are you ready for that, Drina? I'm going to tell you something about yourself, and let this be a lesson to all the Professor Shaun family. Is all men and all women are born with a heart of a certain metal. Okay? Some are born with hearts of copper. Some are born with hearts of bronze. Some are born with hearts of silver. And some are born with hearts of gold. Yeah? But when you're born, these hearts of these metals that are pretty much like rings, yeah? They're thrown into the swamp that is the world. They're thrown into this cesspit, this toxic dump. And they start to erode away day by day by day by day. Until eventually, well, there's no metal left. It's all rusted away and little flecks of what it once used to be. And then you have no heart. And you become what we call a strong, independent woman. That is the sad part. That is the sad part. But then you have some heartstrings that are made of gold. Huh? Or I'll tell you something about gold. I don't know if you know this. But golden hearts, gold, never rusts. It never rusts. Never corrodes. Never loses itself. The golden heart remains pure. You see? The golden heart remains pure. So, it's a little bit of a long-winded explanation of the heart, but there it is. And Drina, I believe you have a heart of gold. So, salute, Drina. Mathew Walsh has a heart of gold. Nico has a heart of gold. Dennis has a heart of gold. There's a lot of people that have hearts of gold, believe it or not, in the world. I have a heart of gold. I'm not a saint in any way, shape, or form. But I do feel that I always hold myself accountable for my actions to at least divine purpose, you know? I remember this one time I had parked in a handicapped spot because, long story made short, my car broke down at the gas station. And the only place to push it into was this handicap spot. So I went to the Burger King next door because they had no payphone, and this was the 90s. And I went to Burger King next door, used their payphone, called a tow truck, and went back to the convenience store where my car was and where I can get in gas. And cop was writing me a ticket for parking in a handicap spot. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And I told him what happened, but he didn't care. And he's just like, tell it to the judge. And I was infuriated by this situation. And so I took it all the way to court. And as I pleaded my case to the judge, I said, Your Honor, I feel like there is a spirit behind every law. And I don't feel the spirit of the law of the handicap parking space is to prevent a car that doesn't work from being put there in an emergency. And she not only agreed with me and asked me if I was going to school to be an attorney, but she also said there is a spirit behind every law. And that I was faced with a bad decision that I had to make. I had to decide, did I want to take away revenue from the business and just leave my car there at the pump? Or did I want to try to push it off to someplace safely? And the only place available was the handicap space. What is the spirit of the law in this circumstance? And this judge judiciously sided with me, chastised the cop. And that was a great day. Yeah. Justice was served in that case. But there is a spirit behind every law, you know? And ultimately, you have to decide the spirit of the law, you know? I don't know how we got onto the spirit of the law conversation. Yeah, it's late. I'm feeling chatty. I've been telling war stories all day, so I'm all worked up. Can't even eat. It's kind of crazy. I really should eat. I'm just not hungry. I don't know why I'm not hungry. I just don't think I need as much food as I used to. Not interesting, I know. So anyway, Matthew Walsh is a great man. And if you ever see this Matthew Walsh, well, I'm sure with enough of your research team, you could figure out a way to contact me and say hello. Though, do not consider this a plea for your attention, more of a silent tribute, because I doubt you'll ever see it. Because you are on to bigger and better things, as well you should be. Meanwhile, I do my work here, on my own channel. And if we talk man and man, if this was me talking to Matthew Walsh right now, I would say you've been inspiring. And you gave me my voice in many ways to be able to feel that I could speak again. You know? And you taught me some shit. And I appreciate your contribution, not just to the society, but to the male species. So, salute Matthew Walsh. And with that, I'm going to end the live. been an hour. No one really in here anymore. It's been nice. It's been real. And hope somebody watches the whole hour.